right.
It won't be Brunson. It might be.
It won't be Brunson.
Here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Tuesday night. A big episode of Knicks Weekly is upon us, man. A roundtable edition. We're bringing back Knicks fans to the roundtable, man. As John Schmelk of WFAN joins us for tonight's show. And on tonight's show, we are going to break down this Knicks versus Cavs series. Plus, we take your questions. The franchise channel members have weighed in and delivered their questions for this mailbag episode. So we will react to it and give our takes on it, man. Action-packed show. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. CP the Franchise, JD Sports Talk, Alex Rattars, the Tradcast, and once again, special guest, John Schmelk, back on the show. Perfect timing, man. Perfect timing.
Good to be back, CP. Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely, man. Always a good time. Always a good time talking hoops with you and talking playoff basketball once again. So I'm thrilled. I'm looking forward to Saturday, man. Very excited. But I'd be even happier if we knew the status of one Julius Randle. So let's hear from Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau, who met with the press earlier today on the status of Julius Randle. Here he is.
Julius participate fully?
He did some, yeah, making steady progress, so just take it day to day.
Did he do a contact?
No.
When you say some, is he running? Like what?
He's doing some running, shooting, scripting, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, he meets with medical every day, so when he's ready to go, he's ready to go. But good, steady progress each day, a little bit better.
Is game one a possibility?
Well, game one is Saturday, so we'll see.
All right, John. So is game one Saturday? We'll see. So Thibs with a little smirk on his face at the end. Any concerns with the status of Julius Randle for game one of this series, man? What do you think?
Oh, of course there's concern. I mean, he's the Knicks' second best player. He's a guy that I think physically can maybe overwhelm Evan Mobley a little bit. You know, Mobley's really mobile. He's long, but I think Julius can body him and he can bang him and he can, frankly, hurt his help defense. Because if they, I was talking to somebody that covers Cleveland this morning, and I asked them, because Isaac Okoro, who's their main perimeter defender, hasn't practiced yet this week, and I'm like, well, who's going to cover Brunson? Who's their next best perimeter defender? And he said to me, it's Evan Mobley. That was his answer to me, that they're just going to switch all day and have Mobley switch on to these guards. Well, guess what? If you have Julius come out there, set the screen, Mobley switches on to the guard, then you get what? Julius on
the guard.
Mitchell?
Yeah.
You get him on Garland? I mean, that's a layup line.
Yeah.
Obi, I think, can do some of that, but he's not Julius Randle. So, yeah, it's critical to get him back in the lineup. But I would say this, too. Don't rush him where he could re-injure and miss the whole series. If he's to miss one game, I think you deal with it. Get him back as close to full strength as you can where there's less of a risk of re-injury, and then do what you can because you need him at some point to be full strength if you want to make an honest-to-goodness run at this series.
Yeah, I think they need him to win. Look like, I don't know, I can't read Thibs' face here, but he seems like Randle may be ready to go for game one. He was kind of jovial there at the end of the press conference, so we'll see. But you're right. They need him. The matchup against Mobley is key, especially on the boards. The Cavaliers not a collectively great rebounding team, so you need Julius out there to be physical with guys like Mobley and Allen, attack the glass, get the Knicks some second chance opportunities, and limit the Cavs second chance opportunities. And one of the things about Julius that we just don't know, what we're going to be looking at when he comes back is how much of a rhythm is he going to be in? Because his ability to shoot the three is also going to be key against a guy like a Mobley, right? In one of their games, in one of their wins on January 24th, he had the game where Julius had like 8 of 12 from downtown. And that was a big part in helping the Knicks get that victory. So I think his ability to potentially space the floor when a Mobley is out there is going to be key, along with his physicality and just along with just being a next to Brunson, a capable shot creator and playmaker for this team, because they're going to need it, especially in the half court against this Cavs defense.
Yeah, look, and I think getting off to a fast start in the series is key. The Cavs, again, to quote my buddy out in Cleveland, he said, look, it's Donovan Mitchell and a bunch of kids. And the Cavs are a much better team at home. and they struggle a lot on the road, unlike the Knicks, who are, good away from home and they're good at the Garden. So I think, for the team, if you can steal one in Cleveland, I think that's huge. You might be able to rattle Cleveland's confidence a little bit. But I also think it's important for Julius to start the series well. I was on with the Strickland, which you guys I know talk to all the time, the other night, and they asked me, is there a chance that Julius has a series like he did against Atlanta 2 years ago? I said, no, I don't, because Brunson's on the team.
Right.
But I think if he struggles a lot early, there's a chance he could get mental and he starts pressing, doing too much. If the Cavs, what I would do if I'm Cleveland, once you see Randle's Randle, I would just start, as soon as he puts the ball down or turns his back to the hoop, you run a double at him.
Yeah.
Turn him into a decision maker, right? And can the Knicks make the adjustments they couldn't make against the Hawks 2 years ago, where you get him the ball in different spots, facing the basket, top of the key, where those doubles either can't come, or when they come, he can see the whole floor and then make good decisions to find open teammates. So I do think getting off to a fast start here is key, and I think having Jalen Brunson helps because, to our overall point, we've been talking about it, the Knicks can throw 3 or 4 good defenders at Donovan Mitchell, right? You have Grimes, Quickly, Hart, and then even McBride, if you need him to come off the bench, can do it. Who do the Cavs have to throw at Jalen Brunson to defend him? It's a short list, and it starts with Isaac Okoro, and he might not play. And then you're talking about Evan Mobley on switches. I mean, it gets ugly fast. So I do think the Knicks have an advantage there in terms of matchups.
Oh, JD, jump in, JD now.
I agree with John. I think, and John said that, he's confident that Julius won't have a Hawks series. The unfortunate thing is his injury, is the timing. And I think it's just as important. These first few possessions of the game, the way that the Knicks play the offense, some of the sets that they run, for Julius, I think are going to be very, very important just to get him some confidence. I don't know that I would go right to him within the first few possessions. I would want to get him moving. I want to get him to pass the ball, want to get him maybe an easy bucket just to build that confidence. Because game one, he misses his first 3 shots. You just don't know, because now the injury, you got to think the injury is something mental too, is the ankle. He's facing what some people believe, I guess, is going to be the defensive player of the year based on some rumors on votes, Evan Mobley. So if he has the first few possessions one-on-one against Mobley and he's not successful against that length with him and Mobley and Allen, you just don't know how Julius is going to start to take the game. We've seen a lot of times, CP, Alex, and John, he likes to shoot a lot of threes to start the games, and he's very streaky when he's hot. It's a very good night. Though I'm looking at the first few minutes for Julius and him building some confidence just to get him over that little mental hump. You don't know if he's going to be explosive, he's going to feel confident in that ankle. He is one of my biggest keys to game one, because I think that's going to have a trickle-down effect for the rest of the series, just because, as we all know, the mental aspect has been one of the most challenging parts of Julius Randle's career.
Absolutely. And when you think about the ankle injury and the mind of an athlete, right, they want to know that they can perform at their peak performance. So having that ankle injury and Julius not being a hyper explosive athlete, he needs to rely on that physicality, and that's the balance that comes with using your ankle, right? So will he be able to use that strength fully because of that ankle? And you're talking about his first quarter performances, like he's that guy that needs to get going, because he averages the most. He's known for his first quarter scoring. Throughout this entire season, he's averaging 9 points in the first quarter. And if he can't get going, like JD, you're talking about what maybe Brunson get going, or maybe John, that was you saying that, don't just go to Julius too quickly because you don't want to shake his confidence. Well, that is his confidence, though. So I think you have to figure out some sort of way. Maybe it's not the first or 2 touches, but you got to figure out how to get him into rhythm, because he is that first quarter guy, and you want to make sure that he has some sort of comfortable presence throughout the rest of the game. But the big concern for me is his 3-point shooting, because after that Celtics game on March 5th, he's been shooting 27% from 3, and he's a 34% shooter. Now, it's on the same volume during that time where he's taken 8 attempts, but ankle injury, coming back, needing to be that first quarter guy because they look for him to set the tone with that physicality, to create that New York gritty presence. And then his 3-point shooting is not going to drop. I hope that Thibs is recognizing what's happening, so that way he can direct Brunson on how to manage the game, making sure that Randle will be effective not only in that game but throughout the entire series, because for an athlete, it just takes one game to shake your entire confidence. So Thibs has really Thibs, the
Especially in
coaching
the
staff, they
playoffs.
really have to like focus in on how Julius is playing that game.
Yeah, especially in the playoffs. And you mentioned Julius's 3-point shooting. One of my keys is the overall 3-point shooting of the team. And in the regular season matchup against the Hawks, against the Cavs, they shot close to 40% from three. And this is a stingy Cavs defense, number one in the league in 3-point attempts, opponent 3-point attempts, number one or number two in the league in opponents 3-point makes. But they were about 26th in the league in opponent 3-point efficiency. So for the Knicks, when they have those windows, it's up to a Grimes, a Julius. You hope Grimes can keep it consistent as he did this past week or past 10 games, John. He's been shooting damn near 50% from three. I don't know about RJ. Obi, these guys are supporting cast. When they get those opportunities to bail out a Jalen Brunson, when he's getting double teamed or getting caught in a scramble, they're going to have to knock those down.
Yeah, I was almost hoping for Hart's 3-point percentage to crater 2 weeks ago because it's coming.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when. He's not a 50% 3-point shooter.
Right.
And now you just hope it doesn't come in the playoffs in a crucial spot, right? I think transition's huge in this series, guys. I really do, especially with that second unit. You let that Cavs defense set with their long guys in the paint. They funnel everyone off the 3-point line.
Yeah.
They force them into the paint against the big guys, and they help, and they're long, and they're good, right? So I think, maybe get Julius a walk into a 3-point shot early in the game off of a defensive rebound, and you run. Make those big guys run. Make them defend. Make them run with Julius in transition. Maybe at times in the second half, you put Josh Hart as a small ball 4.
Yeah.
And make Mobley run with him off rebounds, right?
Yeah.
I think that's key. And then the other way you get your threes against the Cavs, and I think this is probably why the Knicks, to your point, CP, and I haven't looked at the advanced numbers, had the success they did against the Cavs shooting threes this year. The Cavs are a bad defensive rebounding team. And I think it's because they help so much with their bigs on drives, right? And they switch also. So you get cross matches,
mismatches.
You leave boxing out, and you get offensive rebounds. And one of the major reasons the Knicks offense has been as good as it has been this year, top 5 in the last couple months, is they get offensive rebounds and open looks off of that. And there was a really interesting conversation. I heard Fred Katz talking about this, who covers the team for The Athletic. And he says the guys are taught, if you get an offensive rebound in the paint, you go up. If you get an offensive rebound and you're outside of that dotted circle, you kick it out for a 3-point shooter. And that's where they're going to get their threes in this series, off those offensive rebounds and kickouts. And that's when you're going to get your open looks from 3. They have to take advantage of those in this series.
Yeah, big time. And that's on Mitch, Hartenstein, Hart, Grimes. That's one thing with the Knicks. They do have good rebounders across the board, but that is how they get their offense. For a team that isn't a highly efficient team, the second chance opportunities are going to be crucial in this game. No question about it. JD, any other areas that you're looking at in this series?
Any other areas? I'm looking at Quentin Grimes specifically, because of the fact that I think a very positive development for the Knicks was that, within the last 10 games of the season, he was shooting 48% from 3 and 54% overall from the field.
And the volume up too, by the way.
And and that is the point there that John just mentioned, the volume of shots. Previously to those set of games, we were talking about, there were halves he didn't even take a shot. There were games, it wasn't until the third quarter that he took his first shot. And we were wondering, okay, what is going to be the long-term plan here with him at the 2? Because he does have the skill sets, but how is he really fitting in with this starting lineup? And then you saw the volume go up, and then you saw the playmaking. He's more comfortable driving now. Remember, he had that sequence where he wasn't too sure when he was at the 3-point line and someone closed out on him. There were times where he was hesitant, and that led to negative plays. Well, now, because he's hitting the 3-point shot, the defenders are respecting the 3, and he is more fluid in his movements towards the basket now. And with RJ now back and Randle coming back, I'm looking to see if there's any adjustment towards how Grimes is used in the offense. And I think he's going to get the shots because, JB Bickerstaff talked about how Jalen Brunson put them on alert on that last game. To me, that's translation. He's going to get double teamed a lot in this series. And the Knicks, role players supporting cast, they're going to get the opportunities. And I think he is a key factor because we don't know what's going to be the consistency of RJ's shot. And because we don't know that, and because I don't expect RJ to, shoot 40 or 45% from three, the next guy up to me from that position is Grimes. He's going to defend Donovan Mitchell. I think he's our best specific defender against Mitchell because I think he's slightly quicker than Josh Hart, so he can handle some of the, ball handling skills of Mitchell a little bit better than Hart. And quickly, although he's a great defender, he's not as strong as Grimes. So I think Grimes is our best shot at containing Donovan Mitchell, and then he's our best shot in terms of consistency from the three-point line. So to me, Grimes is a very, very important player. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, guys, this will be his first playoff experience, and you guys know how sometimes that goes with young players. You saw how RJ had trouble against the Hawks in his first go-round. So he has a lot of responsibility, but he's going to have to, hopefully get through it and play well this series.
And a big question is, how will he handle the Spiders' aggressiveness? Because, the Spiders seeing that as well. An inexperienced guy, he knows Grimes plays an aggressive style of defense. How will he use that against him, especially in those home games to try to curry favor with the refs? You hope Grimes can keep it consistent and stay disciplined. But on the plus side, as John mentioned early on the show, the Knicks' depth at that guard or wing spot with Hart right there, or Quickly, or even in McBride, you can run multiple guys at Mitchell all series and try to make him work. And so I'm definitely looking forward to Grimes in this series. Remember the last home game when the Knicks played the Cavs, in those final couple of possessions when Mitchell had the ball in his hands, he wanted to switch off of Grimes and try to take Quickly one-on-one. I thought those are two back-to-back interesting possessions where you had Garland screening for Mitchell to try to get Mitchell onto Quick. And he did find a bit of success down the stretch there, but he's trying to shed Quentin Grimes, man. So very interesting. Al, your thoughts on Grimes or any other areas that of concern in this series?
I'm looking at the closing lineup, to be honest with you, because it is going to be interesting. Yeah. You're talking about.
Hope you're ready, Thibodeau.
Yeah, right.
I'm glad I don't
got that guy's job.
The why wasn't he in question is going to be there for every single game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. You're looking at Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, and one of Thibs' weaknesses, man, is recognizing when players are in rhythm, whether that's offensively. I won't say defensively. Usually when he sees a guy who's playing defense, he is quick to figure that out. But offensively, like we've seen Quentin Grimes be on a heater, and the next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute, it's the fourth quarter. Why is he now getting in with 3 minutes to go? Yeah, like we needed him much earlier in this game. So I'm looking to see how he's going to balance that. I feel like we're going to see Quickly, just because we talk about needing another ball handler. They're going to try to trap Brunson. I feel like Quickly should be a lock to be out there. And Randle's going to be out there if he's healthy. Mitchell Robinson or Isaiah Hartenstein, depending on who's having a good night. So it's that last spot. Is it going to be Josh Hart? Is it going to be Quentin Grimes? Is it going to be RJ Barrett? Josh Hart's been closing all these games defensively. Yeah. But you're also going to need some offense out there, some shooting. And if you're going to have Quentin Grimes who's shooting like this, I don't know how you can leave that on a bench because you're going to need that offense. You're going to need that offense. And as John pointed out, maybe you want to see that 50% three-point shooting from Josh Hart, only taking 2 attempts per game, drop just so that way you don't have to see it during the playoffs. But it's going to be a balance because Josh Hart's been Thibodeau's guy since he's got here. Quentin Grimes is also Thibodeau's guy, but has taken a back seat because of what Josh Hart brings. And you need Josh Hart's mentality. You need that gritty nature. You need that physicality, solid rebounder. You're thinking about, you need a possession. You got Mitchell Robinson out there. You got Julius Randle out there, 2 strong rebounders. Add another one. And it's like, okay, we can secure this. We can secure a rebound because that's been an issue in some games, especially when you think about that second game against the Dallas Mavericks, right? You're talking about a couple seconds left. You need a rebound. That game's over. Instead, Luka gets it. It goes in a totally different direction. So I can understand saying, do you need some rebounding? Maybe you go Josh Hart. You need some scoring. You got Quentin Grimes. And so managing all of that with Quickly, you're like, I need another ball handler out there. Or maybe you must say, yo, the Cavs right now, they don't have a Coro. As John pointed out, they're switching everything. We need RJ because he's the only guy that can relentlessly get downhill, draw the foul, and he's been solid at shooting free throws. Do I go with him? So it's going to be interesting to watch Tom Thibodeau try to manage the entire situation because for some reason, I feel like it's not going to be that easy every single game where you're going to be like, all right, we can go back to the whole Brunson, Quickly, Hart, Randle, and Robinson 5. I feel like we're going to start to see some different closing lineups throughout this series just because, after one game, teams are going to make their adjustments, come back, throw a different look at you, and you need to be ready. So that's a whole other thing for Thibs and in-game adjustments, but those closing lineups, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and Alex, just to jump in, I think it's interesting. I think the decisions Thibs will have to make will have to be on a game-by-game basis. I think you're right. You hope he makes the right ones, and I think here's the debate. Hart is defense and rebounding, right? And he gets out in transition. Yeah. Grimes is shooting and defense. That's what you get out of him. Mm-hmm. And then the RJ thing is interesting because I had a long conversation about this earlier today with somebody. And I said, I don't see how you can have RJ in your closing lineup. But then I thought about it this way. When Jalen Brunson knocked Donovan Mitchell out of the playoffs last year, how'd the Mavericks do it? They relentlessly hunted Donovan Mitchell defensively. Mm-hmm. What the Knicks couldn't do against Trae Young 2 years ago, right? Because they could just hide him on Reggie Bullock and there was nothing the Knicks could do. Well, the Knicks can now put out a lineup where you cannot hide Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. And if RJ's your third guy there, you have to think RJ can at least, big boy him a little bit on some of these drives, right? So is the hunting Mitchell thing part of the equation then too, where you don't want to give him, look, you can put Donovan Mitchell on Josh Hart and get away with it. And, if Josh Hart beats you going one-on-one, I think if you're Cleveland, you tip your cap and you go home and you did what you're supposed to do, right? And to an extent, same with Grimes. He's not an isolation scorer. But Barrett can do it when he has the right matchup. So I think that's the other part of this. And I think Thibs will always err on the side of defense and shooting. Yeah. But at some point, do they say, look, Donovan Mitchell is a disaster defensively. We need to hunt him with somebody. Right. And does then RJ become part of the equation at the end of these games?
Yeah, I think it all depends, as you said, how he's playing, right? Each game will dictate who's going to be out there closing. I just have to think that Hart is almost automatic just because of the intangibles, right? Nobody's going to out-hustle. Right, and quick. Yeah. And nobody's going to out-hustle Josh Hart. And then his knack for rebounds, his knack for the ball, you're going to need that in the playoffs when it's a game of inches. Quick, he can do everything for you. Play make. He's shooting better now, and his defense. I think those two guys, to me, are going to get the lion's share of the closing minutes. And then for Grimes and RJ, it's going to be a matter of, what type of flow they're in. Do they have it that night? What does the game dictate? But I think Hart and Quick will get the bulk load of the closing spots.
CP, I think that leads to me to another headline. And we talked about the closing lineups there, and nobody mentioned iHeart versus Mitch. I think that's going to be interesting to see who he goes to. Yeah. Because I know most recently, it looked like he favored Hartenstein more, but this could be a nice Mitch matchup because, these guys are more defenders than there are a bunch of Joel Embiids. And so, because of their length and their height, Mitch is a guy that could be effective in the offensive glass, and you may need that to end the games over, Hartenstein's other offensive skill sets. But all that leads to another, in terms of concerns. It's not a concern, but I think it's one of those things where it looks like Thibs is so much favored in terms of the head coach to head coach that because of all the skills that the Knicks have in terms of the players, the depth, the Knicks have a stronger bench, and all the possibilities, all the combinations. A lot of people are looking at Thibs should just school JB Bickerstaff in this playoffs. JB Bickerstaff, I saw a report that he was calling Terry Francona out in Cleveland for some advice in terms of in terms of this type of playoffs. I've seen a little some of his press conferences, and he said some interesting things. So, coaches have nerves too. We talk about players, but there's some nerves for young coaches as well. And it's going to be interesting to see, the schematics and the coaching of each other. Thibs does have the edge, but I think sometimes where everyone thinks you're so favored, you kind of have to live up to that expectation. So I hope that, this thing doesn't go the other way. And I think Thibs does have some pressure here. You look at his overall playoff record. You look at, his recent Knicks history here with us, what happened with the Hawks. Now he has a better team, right? So it's like, okay, you have better personnel now. This team is a good team on the road. You have a good clutch player in Brunson. Like, you have a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
Now let's see what you can do versus a coach that, it doesn't have much playoff experience. So Thibs has an edge, but, you have to execute on that front.
JD, it's funny you brought that up. Talking to my buddy that covers the Cavs, he actually made that point to me. He says, look, the Cavs have not closed games well this year. And I said, with Donovan Mitchell, they didn't close games well? He goes, no. They've had a lot of 15-point fourth quarters where Mitchell tries to do a little bit too much. And he said if there's a lot of close games, as someone that's watched the Cavs all year, he has a lot more faith in Brunson and the Knicks closing out close games than he would the Cavs, based on what he's seen from both groups this year, which I thought was interesting. I think that does go back to the coaching a little bit too.
Yeah, I love it.
And JD, you mentioned that Thibs has a better roster. These are his guys. This is all Tom Thibodeau type players at this point. This is not like last season where it's not his type of guys. Now you're talking about a talent upgrade, his guys. So he should be able to deploy them in the manner that he sees right against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So it'll be interesting to see how Thibs is able to bounce back from 2 years ago. Now that on this team I looked at, we have more shot creation, better dribble penetration into the paint. Like, this team is just all around better. So I think Thibs should, and I think he's going to be able to perform with this type of roster.
Oh.
And by the way, the Knicks bench is so much better, CP. They have to win the bench. They have to win it severely. You can argue the Cavs have depending on Randle's health, the Cavs could have 3 of the 4 best players in the series.
Right.
If you count Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell, right? And then Brunson's obviously in there somewhere. So, look, you got to win the bench. And I think Thibodeau has to – and I think he's done a better job of letting that bench unit roll when it's rolling. So, let it roll. You have to kill this Cavs bench, which is really, really not very good.
Yeah.
John, do you think Thibs goes with the 9-man rotation?
I was just going to say that.
8.5.
I was just going to say that. That's going to be a storyline of game 1.
I think he sticks with 9. I think it's worked. I think he sticks with 9, to be honest with you. I think Obi will get 8 minutes a game. But that'll be 9. He'll get 12 minutes. He'll hit a couple threes.
I think he'll get his 10. But I think they will stick with it.
That's what he'll get.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I look at that Heat game tonight. Literally 7 players played tonight. Oladipo got 9 minutes.
That's that Heat 7, man. That's that Riley 7, Spoelstra.
The playoffs rotations go a lot shorter. They go 1 man shorter than the regular season. And John brings up an interesting point, because I think if you look at all these rosters in the playoffs, the Knicks may be one of the very few teams that you legit have to play the guys that's on the bench. You kind of have to take it like a regular season type approach, in that, who are you really taking out of this rotation, and what's the real reason for it? There's no legit reason. These guys are effective that way. Who's to say that if they go 8, that's actually going to work? The bench has worked because of the chemistry they've developed with those 4 guys, between Obi, Hart, Quickly, and Ihart. You adjust it now, it could alter a little bit of that rhythm and that chemistry that they've been so used to for the 82-game season. So the way that he manages the bench, being that is now, the playoffs, I'm interested to see, does he go regular 9 guys, or does he, like John says, does he play Obi 8 minutes and then everybody else gets the extras?
Yeah, and time will tell, man, as we look forward to Saturday, game 1. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. This is a mailbag edition of Knicks Weekly. CP the Franchise here, JD Sports Talk, Alex Rotaros, and special guest, our guy John Schmelk of WFAN is in the building, man. We were chopping it up on this series. We are going to get to the mailbag questions, but a quick reminder for the folks in the chat. Tickets are on sale right now to the KnicksFanTV Game 1 watch party and live stream at the 4040 Club in New York City. Make sure you guys are getting your tickets. Make sure you guys RSVP. We are selling out of tables. We're selling out of tickets. This is the hottest ticket in New York right now. Trust and believe. Saturday at 5 p.m. Doors open at 5 p.m. And I am giving you a complimentary drink. Sponsored by CP the Franchise, Al. Yeah.
Drinks on CP.
I
Drinks-
couldn't believe it.
drinks
I couldn't
on
believe
me
it when I read that.
For the
He
first
really
hour.
jumped out the window.
Yeah.
I said, hold on. So we could order bottles, moettes, and everything?
You talk to me after this. But the point is, on this show,
Bottom shelf.
we
It's okay.
usually don't mention the name of the spirits we are partaking in because they don't sponsor the show or the event. But our friends at Jack Daniels and Tito's Vodka will be providing the spirits for the opening hour to get you right. All right. So, like I said, make sure you guys get your tickets. Go to KFTVplayoffs.com, KFTVplayoffs.com, and get your tickets as they are flying off the shelves. Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one, man. Pre-game, play-by-play, halftime, and post-game. The whole 9 yards.
JD's going to be drinking JD.
Yeah, right. That's right, man. So anyway, we did take a poll of our loyal franchise channel members. Salute to all the franchise channel members, especially those in the chat, to come up with some of their questions in regards to the playoffs. So let's go through these one by one and react to it as a group. The first one up is courtesy of Jamaica Queens 22, big time supporter of the show. And the question is, what team do you feel would benefit from the physicality of a playoff series? The Knicks or the Cavs? Well, I mean, for me, this is the Knicks. This is their A game, right? You ask any coach around the NBA, they tell you the Knicks put you through the ringer through every game, whether it's Julius, Brunson plays physical, RJ plays physical, Josh Hart, right? The bigs. So that this
Grimes.
is
I don't know if I said
Grimes.
Grimes.
All right, McBride. This is the Knicks brand of basketball, man. They want to get physical and against a more finesse type of big like an Evan Mobley. That's why you kind of need Julius in this series. You know that's why you need Julius in this series to wear these guys down. You want to see if a Hart can kind of you're never gonna stop a Donovan Mitchell, but to try to slow him down to be physical and hope that over the course of the series. It kind of wears these guys out. Maybe they don't have as much legs as the series goes on. So I think being physical certainly plays into the Knicks' hands.
This is also a classic Tom Thibodeau in the playoffs thing, right? Where he has an advantage in the regular season because his teams play harder and tougher than everyone else. But in the playoffs, everyone else kind of matches that intensity the Knicks usually have in the regular season. So can the Knicks bring that to an even bigger level in the postseason to rise above where the Cavs are going to get to just from their natural increase of intensity being in the postseason? So that's always something that you've worried about with Thibs, right?
Yeah.
His advantage as a regular season coach is that intensity and bringing that energy in the defense. Well, in the postseason, other teams kind of to raise their level to that. Now, maybe not so much with the Cavs because they're such a good defensive team anyway. So I'm not sure if it's that quite of an effect in this particular series, but that's always something to keep an eye on too.
A lot of fouls aren't going to be called.
Yep.
Knicks play physical. I think this is the Knicks. This is Knicks. CP, as you said, this is the Knicks brand of basketball. I mean, and I'm looking at Josh Hart too, right? I mean, not only for Julius Randle going against Evan Mobley, Josh Hart is that enforcer for this team. To reference a movie I grew up with and that's dear to my heart, The Mighty Ducks. Right? You need little Bash Brothers, man. Some Fulton Reed and Dean Portman.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that's why I'm looking at Josh Hart. I don't know if that's Emmanuel Quickly, who'd be the other Bash brother, but some physicality to get in Donovan Mitchell's head, man. If they're not going to be calling fouls, somebody that can get in your face, can talk a little trash to you. That this is going to go into the favor of the Knicks when it comes to that type of brand of basketball. And you look at Mitchell Robinson, another guy who has put on weight, much stronger than he has been in the past. And I think for someone like Jarrett Allen, that's going to be a battle for Jarrett Allen trying to stop Mitchell Robinson, one of the better finishers around the rim. So between Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, even Jalen Brunson, man. Jalen Brunson's a physical guard. The way he can just attack the lane, he swings the ball around so that way you got to foul him when he's trying to drive in. That type of stuff is going to play into their favor. The question is, because the Knicks like to get to the line, will that part of their game be muted? Right. So this will be interesting because they're going to have to be able to finish through contact. So
you do took the words out of my mouth, man. Look, that's what I was going to say. There's going to be a lot of Julius glares and RJ glares and Brunson glares where they're like, I was getting this call 2 weeks ago. I'm not getting it now. The Knicks can't let that affect the way they play, though, because you're right, Alex. A lot of those fouls that get called with this little bump on a drive on the way to the basket that turns into an and one, they're not getting that call in the postseason, especially late in games when they let guys do whatever the hell they want. So one of the reasons the Knicks were so good offensively this year was they're getting to the free throw line, and you're right. How they adjust to that, I think, will be telling.
I always say that the physical part, especially in today's era, is one of the least talked about factors in these playoff series, and it ends up being some of the most revealing factors that decides a long series. I mean, John, you talked about the calls. I mean, I saw this Hawks Heat game tonight already, and the Heat were frustrated with the whistle, and that allowed them to get outplayed by the Hawks tonight. And in the end, I think physical nature, when you talk about a young team like the Cavs, we talk about a team that doesn't have, because they have Kevin Love left, they don't have a lot of leaders in terms of playoff experience on the bench. At least the Knicks do, with like a Derrick Rose. Evan Fournier's been there before, and at least having that off the bench could help just locker room talk, stuff that we don't even see out on the floor. Being able to be physical against the Cavs, against a guy like Evan Mobley, who he has a lot of responsibility for being a young guy, and he's going to be a deciding factor on their end. He has to come through for the Cavs, and yet he's a lean, big guy, but get him in foul trouble or you get physical with him. Donovan Mitchell, who's 6'1", Darius Garland, who's 6'1". Like, you get physical with these small guys. The Golden State Warriors always talk about, they win because in the end they frustrate young teams. Draymond Green was talking about it on his pod, that he thinks that's going to be a factor for them against the Kings in this series, is getting a young team without playoff experience, getting them frustrated early, being physical with them early, so that in the duration of a series, you start to see them give out. So I think this is one area the Knicks have to take advantage, and they have to do it early, starting on Saturday.
Good point, man. The next question comes from our guy, Will Latimer. Shout out to Will Latimer. He says, CP, do you believe Obi will play a big role in this series if Randle isn't 100%? Shout out to our guy, Will Latimer. Well, if Randle can't go, then obviously Obi's going to be very important in this series, because he's going to be starting. And so his three-point shooting, you hope that he can maintain that. He's coming in hot, coming off of a hot week, a nice efficient week, and not just shooting a three, but putting the ball on the floor. His passing, I thought, was pretty notable last week. And also, you're going to hope that he can secure some rebounds and play some defense out there. That's going to be key. It's not just, jumping out and leaking out in transition. He's going to be needed to help in terms of rim protection and securing some boards, especially if Julius isn't available for game one or he's going to be limited. But then let's see if like what we saw in their last matchup in Cleveland, does Thibs opt to go small where that opportunity presents itself? If a Mobley's just out there or an Allen, or maybe those guys are on the bench, does he go with a Hart at the 4 or an RJ at the 4 like we saw in their regular season finale in Cleveland? I think that'll be an interesting storyline as well.
Yeah, no Jared Allen in that game, so that, a little bit different. But yeah, look, I think you can go with Hart at the 4, even with Mobley in the game, to be honest with you. If Mobley wants to try to post up Josh Hart one-on-one, good luck, dude. We saw Porzingis try to do that against smaller players for years. It didn't work.
Never worked.
So, if it works, it works, and then Knicks can adjust to it. Look, I think with Obi, he gets those garbage points, right? He gets the leak out in transition points. He gets the open threes in transition on kickouts and stuff. And against the defense as good as Cleveland, you need a guy that can get those points like that, where they're not coming in one-on-one opportunities, where he's creating himself. And I think he's going to be important getting some of those easy points when he's in the game, where, plays aren't run for him, but he's able to score anyway. I do think getting points like that against a team that defends like the Cavs do is going to be pretty important.
Stay aggressive, man. Go ahead, Al. Go ahead, JD.
Here's the thing, too, CP, where you referenced that game. No Jared Allen, right? So which means, okay, this is the opportunity to play major minutes, because you can go small, as the Cavs did go small that game. And Obi does start. No Randle. Plays 19 minutes.
Right.
So I don't know that this is a great matchup for Obi with a healthy Cavs team, because of the fact that in that game, Obi got 1 rebound in 19 minutes. And when you're looking at, John saying that you can play Hart, one of the reasons you can play Hart at the 4 is 2 reasons. Hart can get physical with Mobley, even with the height difference, and Hart can rebound with anyone.
Yeah. He's a better rebounder than Toppin. Let's be honest.
Definitely. Yeah, so that allows you to go there first before you think about Obi. So Randle's health is going to be key, but if he's not there, Obi's going to have to really, really, tap into some physical nature that he's not known for, because I don't know that this is a great matchup for him, being that he's going to have to go against those 2 big guys. And we kind of got a little sneak peek, and you saw how Thibs managed his minutes with only 19 minutes.
When I spoke to Chris Fedor about the matchup between the Knicks and the Cavs the last time around, the Cavs defense really...
And Chris Fedor covers the Cavs for Cleveland.com, right? Just to give some people some background.
Yep. And when I spoke to him, the success of Cleveland's defense is that they're looking to stop teams and get them in the half court, try to force them to get into a half court set, really slow it all down. So when you look at someone like Obi Toppin, who's capable of leaking out, pushing the fast break, you're going to need that, especially in the middle of the game. Now when it gets in the crunch time, right? That's when it really starts to slow down. You're going to look to Brunson, Randle, guys who can really attack in isolation and force the Cavs to really try to shuffle the deck. But you're going to need Obi out there to get those easy points, as John pointed out. So it's, once again, Tom Thibodeau figuring out, all right, is Randle is he in this groove right now? Is he struggling a little bit? Maybe we go to Obi a little bit earlier, get some easy points, give this team a little bit more confidence. Let Randle rest a little bit, get him back out on the floor, have him go against second units maybe, get more confidence there. These are type of the adjustments that we're going to need to see from Thibs, just to, it's gauging your players, seeing how they're feeling out there, seeing how to get your offense going, a kickstart. These are the type of things. But for me, I hear the physicality of Josh Hart absolutely against a guy like Evan Mobley. If Evan Mobley's hitting jumpers, man, I don't care how physical you are, he's going to be able to shoot right over him. So I'm more concerned, this is where you would want someone like Randle, who's closer in a height difference, even though Mobley's a 7-footer and Randle's 6'8", but that to me is a better matchup than someone like Josh Hart, 6'5", Evan Mobley, 15 feet out, just bank it in, and then we're starting to say, oh my God, why is this guy looking like the young version of Tim Duncan, just banking shots off? So I would like to see, I know Obi's not the greatest defender, but even still, if someone close in the height difference, just put a hand in your face, make it a little bit more challenging. That's where I'm looking at. Although Josh Hart's not a bad option when you're talking about playing small ball.
Yeah, true story, man. And next question goes to DJ Row Music. It says, who do you trust more in a tight game down the stretch, Mitch or Isaiah Hartenstein? That is a great question.
Give me your true answers.
Look, I think it depends on the day with Mitch. I mean, Mitch is day to day, dude. What Mitch shows up that day. If you tell me what Mitch I've seen for 3 quarters, I'll tell you who I want in the 4th. And honestly, of all the lineup decisions, that one's going to be easy, because Mitch, you can figure out pretty quickly what Mitch you got. So I think that's a game by game basis, depending on how Mitch is playing. I think Mitch determines that more than Hartenstein does. But I think Mitch is really good. He'll get him back in the game. Yeah. But if he's not, he'll stick with Hartenstein.
And he said no problem doing it. Go ahead, G.
No, John, how about if you get the maximum of both players throughout the game? In other words, both players are playing well, so you're getting the best of both of their skill sets in terms of Mitch and his defense, a little bit of everything. If that is the case, then where do you lean in the 4th?
I think it depends how the Cavs are guarding you. I think if they're trapping a lot, I think Hartenstein has to be in, because he can catch in that short roll off the trap and make some plays and make you pay a little bit. If they're switching more and you can get Mitch on the offensive glass off some of those switches, I think maybe he can stay in the game. I think it really depends how the Cavs are guarding the Knicks outside, and that'll determine which one of those guys you want in the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a Mitch guy, but he kind of slumped to end the season, man. And Hartenstein was on an uptick. And for me, I'd be more comfortable with 1 through 5 being capable ball handlers and capable playmakers, especially against an aggressive half-court defense like the Cavs have. You need guys that can make solid decisions. Need solid decision makers and guys that can make quick decisions. And Hartenstein has shown the ability to do that if he's able to grab boards and defend well, which he has been doing as of late. And I need someone who's a little bit more sure-handed around the rim. That's one thing with Mitch is that, number one, his numbers at the rim have dipped since last year, and sometimes he gets a little loosey-goosey with it, man.
CP, that's your guy, man.
That's my guy, and make your free throws.
Like, that's the thing. Like, you talk about his offensive rebounding, that could be a game changer.
Right.
He grabs a big offensive rebound late, they foul him. Do you feel good about that?
Right.
I don't.
That's tough, man.
Yeah, CP, the blockness.
Blockness is my guy. You know that's my guy, but we gotta win.
Instagram,
This is money time, man. We gotta win,
man.
I do. You know, I said the same thing about RJ. That's my guy, but this is money time, man. Give me the guys that give me the best chance of winning right now. Hartenstein's on an uptick, man.
And the thing with Hartenstein is that passing, right? Like finding guys who are cutting back door. That we talk about easy transition points, easy baskets like that, and just having guys who are driving, going or cutting fast, drawing the foul.
Yeah,
Hartenstein's able to do that. That's another dimension that, you know, you bring him up to the high post, you're starting to clear out space instead of having Mitch camped in the dunker spot. So I like it. I like that aspect of his game. It's truly like a 1-2 punch at the center position. But as John pointed out, how is Mitch feeling that day? Because when Mitch is in his bag, give me Mitchell Robinson 10 out of 10 times. There's no question about it. Defensively, no, he'll protect the rim like no one else. You know, he'll block shots, hit it out into the stands, force guys coming into the paint to think twice if they're going to even try to put up a floater, right? Offensive boards, just going back up strong. That's what you need, man. So hopefully Mitch is locked in, and this is gonna be his first time in the playoffs too, right?
First rodeo for Mitch, man.
And honestly, this will be Hartenstein's first one too, because even though he was on the Clippers last year, he didn't play. He didn't really play like that in the playoffs. So for both of them, they're gonna get some substantial minutes. The center position will be quite the position to look out for come playoff times.
And CP, can Hartenstein rebound like he needs to? Like, we talk about that being a big advantage for the Knicks, the offensive rebounds. If Hartenstein doesn't do that, Thibs won't leave him in the game, especially if it's him and Obi.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a liability.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Mitch if they're both playing well, only because in the end for me, you know, we like to say that, oh, if we would have had Mitch against the Hawks and against Trae Young's drives and this and that. Well, you got two guys there that are going to drive. And I know Ihart has gotten a lot better in the rim protection. I know that's one of the main reasons why he's actually has played as well, is not only the offenses, he's actually stepped it up on defense, which has been slightly surprising there. But I still, if Mitch is, you know, I think this could be a good matchup for him. And I think he can have a real imprint defensively, crunch time, getting stops, and even in situations where you have to switch. Mitch does very well contesting jump shots. Sometimes he blocks them. And I'm just going to value the ability to get a defensive stop and offensive rebound in a key situation over Ihart's offense, because I just think last 3-4 minutes of the game, we're going to have enough of that with, you know, the rest of the lineup. And at that point, to me, I'm just looking at just defense. So I'm going to go with Mitch. And CP, I think Cody Glock is going to call the show now.
The leader of the Mitchell Robinson Hive, man. All right, good stuff so far. Okay, next one up is, this one is a doozy. From Stephen W. He says, what does RJ have to do in this series to redeem himself in the fans' eyes for a subpar year?
I have a feeling it's going to be the talk of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
We're not going to get enough of this until Saturday comes.
No.
It's the RJ question.
Absolutely not, man.
I have an article for KnicksFanTV.com talking about the 5 storylines. Talk about RJ in that one.
Yeah.
So
all right, well, go ahead. Kick it off.
Make sure to go over to KnicksFanTV.com to go check it out. But
Absolutely.
yeah, for RJ, look, man, we discussed it on the last show for what was it, when the Knicks played the Pelicans, and you know, he just needs to get his shooting, man. He needs to. It's not only his shooting; his 3-point shot that's got to fall. It's understanding when to be a playmaker. It's the entire thing, because his entire play of the season has been so up and down. You don't know which RJ you're going to get. Like, we know he can attack the lane. He can finish around the rim well. He's finishing better. since mid of February, like February 15th to now, he's shooting about 60% around the rim. But there's just games where it's like, yo, man, why aren't you kicking it out? Why are you just trying to put up a shot? And we saw that in the most recent Cavs matchup, right?
Yeah.
He just continuously attacked the lane. And it's like, dude, you're getting your shot blocked.
Right.
You're drawing the defense. Kick it out. So that's one aspect. The three-point shooting, man, he's got to hit some timely threes at least, because he was shooting, he's shooting 31% on the season, but at one point it was 34%. And, on 5 attempts per game. You could at least respect RJ's three-pointer.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now it's like for the last month or so, you're like, they're just sagging off and just allowing him to shoot. So he needs to show that he could be a respectable three-point shooter, his playmaking, decision-making when he goes into the lane. And then it's just defense, man. Like, defense has slowly gotten better, but you're thinking about that starting lineup, right? It's going to be Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. We don't know if Okoro's back yet. According to John, it doesn't seem like Okoro might be back for game 1.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have Mobley, Allen. If Okoro's out there, who like RJ's going to have to guard him, but that's another guy. Like, RJ's not good at defending guys who are cutting the lane, especially going back door, and that's something like that Okoro likes to do.
Well, in the last MSG matchup, he was guarding Garland. They put Brunson on Okoro when Okoro played.
Yeah, at some point, RJ is going to have to guard somebody real. And I think Alex nailed all 3 of those points, knocked it out of the park, 100% with him on all that. And I do worry. I like RJ because I think they're going to try to hide Mitchell on him from time to time. And I think he can take it into the paint.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Look, RJ, because of his athletic limitations, is very deliberate. He's a deliberate player. He doesn't do things quickly. He's not going to beat guys to a spot. He goes through them, and he uses, he's gotten better with some savviness around the rim, too. Here's the problem. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are going to be waiting for him. He ain't shooting over those guys. They will have a freaking block party with him down there, and it's going to be bad. Right. So I just want to, with Alex 1,000%, he's got to find the open guy. Yeah. And this is my biggest issue with RJ. And I don't want to turn this into an RJ conversation because I know how long that can go. He's still, in his heart, he's the same guy that played at Duke that drove you nuts.
Right.
He drives into groups around the rim. He thinks he's a 27-point per game scorer that's going to do it efficiently, and he's not. That's not who he is. He doesn't have that skill set in him until he becomes a better shooter. If he ever becomes a better shooter, maybe he can become that guy. He's not that guy yet. So he needs to embrace the other parts of his game, and Alex hit all of them. Hit open threes. Find your teammates when you get to the rim, which he's legitimately good at, and play defense. If he can do those 3 things, he's going to be a really good NBA player for a really long time. But he has to embrace that role and accept the fact that I'm not going to be the best or second best player on my team until my shot becomes better.
Yeah. And
I hope that he's going to be willing to accept that at some point, because I think that's really what's holding him back to becoming a really good NBA player. He wants to be something he's right now not capable of being, and it's taking away from the parts of his game that can really help the Knicks win. Yeah. Which stinks because it's in him. He can do it. He's just got to want to do it.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing to face, especially for these young players, man. They crown them early, and overtime's chasing them from high school all the way through, and everybody's a star, everybody's this and that. It's a hard thing to adjust to, especially when you're bringing in more talent. And it's Julius, it's Jalen, Quickly's emerging now. So that's a lot of pressure for RJ. And then he's got the contract. I'm sure he's hearing the fan sentiments from this show. It can't feel good. But he's in it. He's in the start lineup. He's in this series. And for me, we're not going to know what he's going to bring from the three-point line on a night-to-night basis. You're just never going to know. He shot 31% from the field during the season. For game 1, he could be 4 of 8. Game 2, he could be 1 of 8. We
dude,
just
it's
don't
half
know.
to half. It's not even game to game, dude.
Right.
Like, who's showing up at halftime?
Right.
Nobody knows.
Right. So for me, it's, can he knock down a timely 3? Yeah. Are there mismatches that he can take advantage of? Will he get an opportunity against a Garland in the post or Mitchell in the post where he could use his strength and do what he does best, attack the basket? And then when he's there, as Thibs has said early in his press conferences, keep it simple. Don't force. If 3 guys are on you, if Mobley and Allen are on your back, that means somebody's open. You got to try to play make off of those drives, because that's one thing. He can get to the cup, but everything doesn't have to be looked to score. You got to look to impact the game in other ways, and that is finding an open guy. Maybe it's a Grimes out there. Maybe it's a Hart or Quickly or Brunson. Find those guys that can knock down those threes that he can't. And if there is a window, I always look at when he's running with that second unit as his opportunity to get more drives and to finish better at the rim. He's got to take advantage of that. But as you guys said, defense. He's got to be able to keep up. It might be a Garland. It might be a LeVert. It might be a Spider. Can't lose a Chetty Osman, cutting around.
Yeah.
He's got to be tight.
I think for him, when you look at all the areas you guys discussed, I think the top 2 for me is going to be shooting and playmaking. And it's because now the defense, yes, is high on the list, but I just think in this matchup, we're not playing the Celtics where he has to guard either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum.
That's fair.
Right? Like he is going to be guarding either Lamar Stevens, Isaac Okoro, or Karis LeVert in terms of his position, because the other 2 best perimeter players are smaller guards, and the Knicks are likely going to use Grimes, Quickly, Hart, that combination to guard those players.
But JD, real quick, I think CP made a good point with the starting lineup, though. Are you going to try to hide Brunson, which will put RJ on one of those 2 guys, right?
And the last game, yeah, and I was looking at that, and I guess if I'm basing it off the last game that they played in Cleveland, I was looking at that, and the Knicks started Brunson straight up on Garland, and you saw Garland attack Brunson in that game. Now, is Brunson a little bit healthier now? Can he do a little bit of a better job? Is that something that, Thibodeau just prefers? Does Thibodeau think Brunson's a better matchup defensively against Garland? Because that's the position that I was looking at. Who's going to guard Garland? Will Thibs go with the quicker RJ Barrett? But the Knicks have done that in the past when they put RJ on John Morant in that opener, and that did not go well at all because it was easy to get by RJ. So that's going to be an interesting lineup decision. But to me, it's going to be playmaking and three-point shooting, because in the end, CP, he's going to get the opportunities. And I know a lot of people are saying don't shoot a lot of threes. I mean, the game dictates the way it happens. He's going to get the threes.
He has to take them.
You got to take
He has to take them. Because at the end of the day, you can't, like, I know it sounds good. People say, like, just drive. That's not how it works sometimes. It doesn't the rhythm of the game does not allow that. And think about him as a player. Like, if he just turns into Josh Hart, that to me tells me we don't have a confident player. So he has to take some threes, and you hope that he hits some threes, because in the end, at his position, him hitting some threes is going to really open up the offense, and then it's really going to make it difficult for the Cavs to defend you. And the playmaking side is because if if Donovan Mitchell guards RJ, I think RJ can get to certain spots on the floor, but as John mentioned, when he gets to the spots in the paint, you're going to have those guys waiting for you. At that point is when you're going to have to start to look into being a playmaker. And the difference is RJ has done that, but then he's had a scorer's mentality, and he goes up and forces too many shots that he doesn't need to. He's going to look to play make. I need Grimes to get shots in this series.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm Absolutely. And last thing I'll say, very interesting comment RJ made on his last game of the season. This is the quote he said. He said that he's looking forward to this matchup. He said there's a special player on the other side. He said special player. He's not talking about Garland or Mobley. He's talking about Mitchell. And then he said, I am personally excited for this matchup. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest, because that tells me, looking at this, you talked about it, CP. He's hearing it. Remember, when the front office was ready to ship him for Mitchell. Yeah. And now he's saying that he's personally, nobody asked him about how he feels about that. They asked him about how you feel about the series. Yeah. He went ahead and was proactive in saying, I'm personally excited. I hope he has the right mindset in saying that. He doesn't want to be overly aggressive as an offensive player and, thinks too much about this matchup. And, oh my God, this is my opportunity to prove to Leon Rose. You know what I mean? Like, I hope he doesn't go that route, because I don't think it's going to bode well for him.
Hopefully he means defending him and not trying to match him point to point. Right? I don't think that's what he meant, but we can hope.
Absolutely, and it's not like
good. And it's not like he has to drop 20 points to be effective. If you drop 12 points and you're efficient doing scoring 12 points and you're playing solid defense, hitting your timely threes, I'll take it. We say the same thing for Julius. You don't have to, Julius can do it, but if Julius had a solid, efficient night and was taking the right shots, you're still happy with it. Sure. So that's all you need from RJ in this series.
True indeed, man. True indeed. Great panel so far. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Hit that like button. Knicks Weekly Mailbag Edition. CP the Franchise, JD Sports Talk, Alex Rotaro, special guest John Schmelk in the building. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that this show is brought to you guys by Prize Picks. Shout out to our guys at Prize Picks, man. Daily fantasy sports made easy for you guys in the chat, for you guys at home that have never played. Go ahead and try it out, man. Check it out. Go to prizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app and use promo code KFTV for an instant deposit match of up to $100. And for tonight's action, fellas, I went with, we got 2 playing games going on right now. So I got involved, man. I jumped in on the playing game action. And Prize Picks actually brought in some new stats. Because how you play Prize Picks is very easy. You're going to pick between 2 to 6 players. They have a number of stats that you can choose from, and from where the NBA is concerned. You can do points, rebounds, assists. They have points, rebounds, and assist combinators. And now they've introduced dunks. You have the dunks props that you can get involved in now. Also on the points, JD and Al, they have player combinations on points that you can play in these games. So, for example, you could play Trae Young and DeJounte Murray more or less than 40. I forgot what the number was. I think it was like 41.5 points. So they've added a couple wrinkles to the game. And once again, you're just going to predict whether or not that player is going to do more or less than the given stat projection for that night. So here's where I went tonight. I went with LeBron James, of course. Lakers hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks has a Taco Tuesday special where the number of points or whatever it is, they kind of discount it, making it more enticing to play. So I went with LeBron James with more than 24.5 points. That was his Taco Tuesday number. He has 16 points right now, and I think that game is in the half, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so, Wolves up by 11, 60-49.
There we go. So looking fairly good on LeBron James. In the same game, I took Ant-Man Anthony Edwards with less than 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. The Lakers defense has been good this year, man. I think they're like 4th in the NBA right now. They're trending that way. And they've been doing a good job on Anthony Edwards in their regular season matchups, although the Ant-Man has been playing hot. I went less than 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And right now he has 10. So we'll see how that fares in the second half. Also in this game, I went with another Anthony Davis, with more than 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He has 21 at the half, so we are halfway there. And for tomorrow night's action, Raptors taking on the Bulls. I'm testing out this dunks prop here. I'm going with Pascal Siakam with 0.5 dunks. Raptors taking on the Bulls in their play-in matchup. So we'll see how that fares. I played 4 tonight, and we'll see how it goes, man. JD, did you play a ticket?
Sir, I went more on 24.5. Obviously, I took advantage of the what is this? What's it? Taco Tuesday?
Taco Tuesday, man. Taco Tuesday. I didn't eat tacos tonight, but Taco Tuesday, man.
Tuesday.
But did LeBron eat tacos on Taco Tuesday?
That's a good question, man. That's a good question.
The Lakers are gonna need more tacos because they're losing right now. Yeah. So we'll see in the second half. I took Stephen Curry. Over 4.5 threes. I'm taking that right now. I'm not waiting till that line goes up to 5 because I just think against the Kings, he's going to have all the opportunity in the world to maybe even make 4 in the first quarter. So I took that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'm taking him less than 32.5 points. I think they'll put Herb Jones on him. Not saying that that's going to make a huge difference with the way SGA has played this season, but man, at 33 points in a one game against the Pelicans, some of their wing defenders, I'm just going to take the chance that he gets 30, just doesn't make it. And then the last one, I took Anthony Davis and Karl-Anthony Towns as a duo over 49.5. I think I'm in good shape right now because they have half of that. They have a half to go. So
Okay. Al, how about you,
I played 4 as well.
Okay. Al, how'd you do tonight? Or how you looking so far?
So I too took the Taco Tuesday special with LeBron James, more than 24.5 points. He's got 16 right now, waiting for them to come out at half. I took Austin Reeves, the guy who's been the next best thing since sliced bread, depending on who you talk to around the league. But I took him for less than 15.5 points. And then I took Fred VanVleet for more than 18.5 points against the Chicago Bulls tomorrow. I feel like Fred VanVleet's going to have a good game because he usually shows up in these big moments. I also took DeMar DeRozan for more than 22.5 points just because good score. I have Pascal Siakam as well for game more than 23.5 points for tomorrow's game. I just like the Bulls Chicago matchup. The Bulls Raptors matchup. I feel like there's going to be a good amount of scoring in that one.
Yeah. Well,
and shout out to Prize Picks because they've evolved from last year to this year. Like, it's fun, the new things that they're adding with the duos now. And it just makes it fun. The dunks, like they're adding new categories. They're doing combinations. As a player, it just makes it fun to look at all the different ways that you can play and potentially win money. But hey, play responsibly if you do.
Play to win, but play responsibly. As JD says, man, go to prizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Okay, a couple more on the mailbag here, fellas. The next one goes to Eric L. Beats, friend of the program. He says, outside of the starting 5 for both teams, who will be the X factor for this series? The X factor, man.
No one on the Cavs. I'll tell you that.
Well, you know what?
Cleveland.
For me on Cleveland, I'm going to go with LeVert, man.
Yeah, he would be the guy.
I'm going to go with LeVert. LeVert is on a hot streak, man. In his last 10 games, he's averaging 16 points per game on 52% shooting from downtown. And he's a guy, we've seen LeVert. He can be a little bit streaky and erratic, but sometimes he can get it going in bunches, man. You remember that game against Boston where he and Mitchell combined for 82 points, 84 points. LeVert coming off that bench as another scorer, a guy who can close in a Garland with a Garland and a Mitchell back there in the backcourt. I think LeVert is a guy for the Cavs who can be an X factor.
I think it's Quickly. I mean, Quickly's the easy answer, right? I mean, he can come out and win a game on his own. If he plays really well, he come out and win a game on his own for the Knicks. So I think for the Knicks, I think it has to be IQ. Josh Hart's so consistent. You know what he's going to give you. He can help you win a game, but IQ can take over games for swaths of these games. I don't think any other bench player, to your point, LeVert has done it before, but I think Quickly's the guy, and I think the Knicks need him to play well in this series if they want to win it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's Quickly.
Yeah.
It's Quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote a whole article for KnicksFanTV saying why he's the third most impactful player on this team. 6th man of the year running. Without Quickly for this season, where is this Knicks team? That's just how good he's been, not only offensively, but defensively as well. So, as John pointed out, he could take over a game. He could do that on offense. He could be a pest on defense. I don't know how it's not Quickly in this matchup. And who's going to be guarding him? Ricky Rubio?
Yeah.
That's food for Quickly. Food.
What about for the Cavs? He did ask on both teams. Who do you think the X factor is on both teams?
Guess what's LeVert, the most erratic player that they got over there. What LeVert are you going to get that night? Are you going to get good shooting LeVert, or are you going to get bricklaying LeVert? Yeah. That's the question. Like, what you're going to get out of Rubio. Cedi Osman, he's an erratic 3-point shooter, in my opinion. And then outside of that, that's it. Who they put at the backup 5? Mobley. Like, they split time between him and Jared Allen. So that's like, to me, you're really looking at LeVert to be that consistent guy, that guy who can just score in bunches. And we've seen that when he is off, he can shoot you out of a game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the Cavs. I'm going to go Osman because the way he's looking for Okoro, he may come back this series. He may play game 1. He may not. Who knows? And if that's the case, LeVert's going to start. And if that's the case, last game against the Knicks, LeVert was starting and Osman played 22 minutes. He had 4 threes on the Knicks, had 14 points. He was the only guy on the bench with double-digit scoring. And even if Okoro does play, I feel like Osman You know, he's shooting 37% from three this season. When you talk about the Knicks coverage defense, and you would think if there's ever a series that they're going to play that coverage, you know, that drop back defense and you know, drop the paint, pack the paint, it would be against two drivers like Garland and Mitchell, which means a guy like Osman could be a key player for them off the bench in terms of getting three-point opportunities. He's going to have to make it for them just because the Cavs are just, you know, I'm sure they're probably sick and tired now of talking about how the Knicks bench is so much better than them. He could be a guy that, I'm not going to say balances it out, but at least could keep it on par with the Knicks if he's hitting threes. He took 8 threes against the Knicks in their last matchup. So I'm looking at Osman. And for the Knicks, it's quickly by default, but I think it's also quickly because if there's one player on the Knicks that you would tell me who is the one guy on the whole team, even if I include the starters, I feel like who is the one guy that the Knicks just can't afford to implode or to just be bad, is Quickly, because Brunson, I have full confidence. Quickly's a guy that all the analytics are on his side. He's plus this with this guy. He's plus that with that guy. When he's on the court, he's a plus. When he's off the court, the Knicks are negative. Like, everything is on his side. He is the one guy that I think the Knicks cannot afford to have a terrible series because he is just that important in any lineup combination that he plays in.
Yeah, he's critical because outside of Brunson, outside of a healthy Randle, Quickly is your best shot creator. And especially in the half court, you're going to need it. You're absolutely going to need it. So I think it's definitely Quick for the Knicks as the X factor. Leading the league in bench plus minus is Quick. And number 3 or 4, Cedi Osman. So there you go. You just never know. And a guy like that, if he's ripping off, 2 threes in a row, 3 threes in a row when they're at home, those things can shift the game. That can shift the momentum in a game. You just never know. Those are the type of games where role players, assert themselves and become kind of those unsung heroes of the game. So you just got to watch them, man. You got to watch the guys like that. So certainly going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Okay. The last question we have here goes to My 2 Cents. Shout out to My 2 Cents channel member. He says, I don't think we have much room for error in this series. Cavs ranked higher than the Bucks in both offense and defensive efficiency, and we're one of 3 teams ranked in the top 10 in both ends of the floor. And despite how much the fans love to hate Randle and want Obi, can the 3 of you give your thoughts, or 4 of you give your thoughts on what we need Randle to do, especially against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and out of the paint to win? In and out of the paint to win. He says thanks.
Yeah, I don't think Randle needs to be a world beater in this series. I think, to the point Alex made earlier, he needs to be efficient. And if he averages, 17 or 18 a game, doesn't turn it over, and shoots a good percentage, I think that's fine. I think you have enough with Brunson and Quickly and Grimes where you can make up for that. And I don't think you want a lot of, 17-foot catch away from the basket isolations for Randle in this game, because they're really good defensively down there. They're just good. And I do think he can bully Mobley on some rebounds. He can get to the basket on him a little bit. But this is not a run the offense through Julius series. Mm-hmm. The Knicks' advantage in this series against the Cavs defenders is in the backcourt. Mm-hmm. And the offense needs to run through those guys. And I think, Julius coming off the injury, maybe he'd be more willing to accept that. Hopefully he will be. But look, I think they just need Julius to play good, smart basketball. And if he does that, I think the Knicks will be fine. And to the mailbag, writer's point, they don't have a big margin for error. This is the Cavs are good. Yeah. Cavs are a good team. I said it before. They might have 3 of the 4 best players in this series, depending on how healthy Randle is. Mm-hmm. So the Knicks are going to have to play well. It's probably going to come down to which team shoots better from 3 over the course of the series. I think the Knicks are better from 3. Mm-hmm. Generally, I have more faith in the Grimes, Quickly, Brunson group than I do the group past Donovan Mitchell for Cleveland. Mm-hmm. But if Mitchell is a bunch of 28-foot off the dribble threes, you kind of shrug your shoulders and say, well, what the hell are you going to do? You can't guard those, right? And he can do that. Right. That's why you were going to trade 4 first-round picks for him last summer, because he's one of the best offensive players in the league. That's just what he does. That's what he is. So, yeah, just be good, Randle. Don't try to be a first-team All-NBA guy. Just be a good, solid player on both ends. Rebound, pass, hit the open shot when you get it. and let the offense flow. Don't try to do too much against, two interior defenders that are really, really good. And again, to Alex's point, but earlier, he's not going to get to the line as much as he usually does. So I think he's going to have to be a little bit less aggressive, especially coming off the ankle injury.
And John, to your point, like for you talk about the Knicks being a better 3-point shooting team, since that December 4th game where Tom Thibodeau switched to the 9-man rotation, the Knicks have been shooting 36.7% from three. They are 12th in the league from that point on.
Since when? Since the rotation?
December 4th when Thibs made the 9-man rotation.
It's a big sample
12th.
too.
So from that point on, they're 12th in the NBA when it comes to 3-point percentage. The Cavaliers are 20th from that time period when it comes to shooting the three. But the guy who's led the way, one of the two guys, is not only Brunson, it's also Julius for the volume that he takes. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, he's shooting 27% after the last game against the Celtics. He's going to need to find rhythm behind the three. Like he had that, and keep in mind, since then he had that explosion against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it's still at 27% when he went out with the injury against Miami. Mm-hmm. So he needs to figure out how to get back into rhythm. I hope his 3-pointer is falling, but it's also, as John also pointed out, keeping your calm because you're not going to get the fouls. We do not need you chirping to the refs. Not in this series. You got to be cool in this one because
no text, please.
Yeah, you can't get text. You can't give Cleveland any opportunities to add points on the board. On top of that, you can't put yourself in position where you could be ejected from this game because we've seen it happen once this season, right? And we've also seen Randle just check out in some games. So he's going to have to figure out how to take that aggression if he's not getting the calls and he's getting frustrated, channel it, and throw it against Evan Mobley because make Mobley have to foul you and get those calls.
Yeah.
Right? That's how he's got to translate or transfer that energy. So those are the two things I'm looking for from Julius.
For me, this is one of those series where he doesn't even have to go, even his season average from a points per game standpoint. He can be physical. He can play fast. He can focus on playing defense. It's going to be an interesting matchup because, when I look at the last two seasons against this Mobley, Jared Allen duo, look at some of these games from the 3-point line. 1 of 5, 2 of 7, 0 of 3, 1 of 7. And then he had that crazy 8 of 12. I remember that 8 of 12, he had 36 points and 13 rebounds.
Yeah.
But it was 8 of 12. And, we were saying, how many times we're going to see that type of game from the 3-point. We talk about 8 threes. Like, we're nearing records here, when you start going that high. So, but then you look at the previous games before that, 1 of 7, 0 of 3, 2 of 7, 1 of 5, last two seasons against the Cavs. It's going to be interesting, because a lot of those 3-point shots are going to be contested from Mobley. And, Julius is 6'8", 6'9", maybe. And Mobley has length and he has long wingspan. He's going to be able to alter some of those shots, contest it at the highest point. I'm looking Randle to shoot maybe 7 threes max on these matchups, unless obviously he's hot. But I need him to play physical, and I need him to not go off on these refs, stay focused, because he's one of those players that we know if he unravels, it's from what he's proven so far, when he gets unraveled, he's not like these other elite superstars that when the refs test him, the game tested them, adversity hits, they elevate to another level. It seems like Randle goes the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Melts,
implodes,
man.
You see these other players like, okay, you're not going to make calls? Fine. Watch this. And they take it personal. Or if it's another player going at them, they take it personal. Randle seems to go the other way when these things happen. That's what he's proven so far. Hopefully it changes in the playoffs, but I'm going by recent history. So I need him to be composed, poised, be physical, don't take too many threes, and just go game by game.
Alex referenced the Mighty Ducks. I'll reference White Man Can't Jump. In the 2-on-2 tournament at the end, Billy Hoyle, Sidney Dean pulls him aside. What are you doing? He goes, well, I'm pissing you off. Why? Because you play better when you're pissed off. Well, Julius Randle does not play better when he's pissed off. He is not Sidney Dean.
Absolutely.
So let's keep Julius nice and calm, all right?
Yeah.
And one last thing too, CP. It's interesting very interesting how since that Julius thing, look around the NBA. Everybody's fighting now.
There's powder kegs all over the place, man.
So,
Explosions.
It's a double-edged sword because it kind of has given the Knicks fan base like a secondary thought about, hey, this happens everywhere. Why are y'all tripping on him? But to Randle, I wonder if Randle's looking at this like, you see, I could do it. Y'all tripping on me doing it. Like, he might feel more enabled to do it because it's happening now. Ironically, coincidentally, right after him, we're seeing a new episode, it seems like every night around the NBA.
Yeah.
So I hope that these new occurrences around the NBA doesn't motivate him more to go off in the playoffs.
You got Bones Highland and Mason Plumlee. You got Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, the whole
Slow-mo.
Timberwolves team.
Yeah.
But they're still winning, man.
But the last thing,
the
last thing is recognizing the double team for Randle.
Huge.
That is going to be key. He's been better this season, but they're going to try to throw him off his game, especially with that ankle. They're going to test him early. They're going to see, all right, are we going to if he starts pressing, that's going to lead to that to the whole thing I was discussing earlier, where is he going to get in his own head? So Randle has to understand where he's at physically in this game and know that he's got a team that can support him. Because when we saw on the Hawks, he tried to do it all himself. You don't have to do it all yourself this series. You got help. Trust them. Trust and believe.
And this is why I don't want the back to the basket ISO stuff, because that's when the doubles bother him. When he's not facing the floor and he gets into trouble, put him in the right spot against a bigger, longer player where he can make those good decisions so he can see the floor.
Mm-hmm.
CP, let me ask you a quick question, because it's with Julius. And this is why it's going to be so tricky, man. I feel for him because, say game one, he goes 5 for 16, has a tough shooting night, Knicks lose, a tough, close game. You talked about how this is money time and now it's show improve. But how would you look at that game? Would you give him a break because maybe like it's rust? Yes. Or are you going to be concerned and say, here we go again? Because this is the tough part about Randle is I kind of feel like he has this weird pressure of having a decent, or at least somewhat of a decent game in game one. Because if he has a tough game one, game two, that pressure on him mentally is going to be immense. Because one, the Knicks are going to be down 0-1 in this scenario. And the Knicks will need you to play game two. But now it's like you've had one game under your belt. The ankle's no longer, like, it's just in New York. You know how it goes, man. These people, they're not going to think about that ankle stuff, especially if on TV, if he looks like he's good.
No.
If he looks like he's good, people are not going to think, well, you're rusty. No. They're going to think about that Hawks series.
Yeah.
How would you look at it if he struggles in game one?
Both. I'm going to give him a bye because he's rusty and he hasn't played in a long time. But all we have to go off of is the last playoffs, right? So you're also going to be thinking like, is it too big for him? Is he struggling? Is he going to struggle for the rest of the series? But you have to stick with him. You have to go to him. I actually think Julius needs a good series for this team to win because I think the Cavs are really going to try to take Jalen Brunson out of this thing. And if Okoro plays, you watch that game in MSG when they played, Brunson didn't get going until late in the fourth when he had Donovan Mitchell on him. When Okoro was guarding him, he made it tough for him. And then when he was even able to get into the paint, then you had Allen and Mobley over him. So a lot of those mid-range shots, a lot of those teardrops, they were a lot tougher for him to get through. And I think the Cavs are really going to try to take the ball out of his hands. And I just don't know if I can trust Grimes to make a play or can I trust RJ to make a play. So it's going to be on Julius to deliver if Brunson is taken out of it. So as you guys said, I need him to play physical. We'll see how he can move on his ankle because if he's able to attack the basket and try to draw Allen and Mobley into some foul trouble or beat them up on the boards, I think that will certainly help. And he definitely has to be efficient from three, man, because if it's not him, it's going to be a lot harder to get easier points if they can't space the floor. So I think Julius's role is going to be critical here. If he has a lackluster game one, you got to keep going to him, man. Because you don't want to lose him in this series. Thibs has to pump him up with confidence and hope that game two, he has a rebound. You got to split 1 and 2. You don't want to come to game 3 in Madison Square Garden with the Garden rocking down 0-2. That will be hard, man.
They will be tight as hell.
They will be tight, man.
They will be tight
They will
as
be
hell, dude.
tight.
And that's, I think, the first thing I said in your first question to me. I said, look, Julius has to get off to a good start. I think it's important. And you're right. Look, no one's a bigger Brunson fan than I am. I was really in favor of the move in the offseason. But length and athleticism bother him. He's limited physically.
That's right.
He's as smart and cagey and, footwork. It's as good as it gets. But if you put a really long athletic guy in him, he's going to struggle scoring. So then you have to set screens for him. Well, then what do the Cavs do? Do they switch? Do they hedge? Do they trap? Then someone else has to step into your point, CP, and take advantage of that. So it's going to be a real chess match here. And I think one thing we haven't talked about is Thibodeau going to be able to adjust to the initial adjustments that the Cavs make to the Knicks? Because I think it took him a couple games 2 years ago against the Hawks to figure out something, and by then it was too late. And the Knicks and the Knicks were just, playing so poorly. It really didn't matter what he did, to be quite honest with you. But once the Cavs take away what Thibodeau's first thing is, do they get to the second thing quick enough in an effective way to still be good? And I think that's another kind of under the radar thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
and
it took
John,
forever to start Rose for Peyton. But that,
But John, to your point, and that's what changes series. That's not just a game.
Absolutely.
That changes the entire series. So can Thibs, this is where it comes to the in-game adjustment. Can he recognize that and be like, oh, whoa, we got to change this up right now, get momentum back on our side? Because if you go into Cleveland game one and you punch Cleveland in the face and take game one, the pressure is now all on them. And then you can come back home to MSG feeling still confident, even if you lose the second one, because you went into enemy territory, took game one, and now Cleveland has to fight their way back because, and I don't even care what anyone says, the pressure's all on Cleveland this one. They traded for Donovan Mitchell. They traded their assets. They got to show that they have a team that is competitive and ready to compete for a chip. Whether or not it's this season, it's got to be next season or so forth, because you got a young team. You got to figure out how you're going to keep everyone on that team, keep that nucleus together, how you're going to build around them. They got the most pressure. So for the Knicks, they should go in there feeling, they're the underdogs, but they should feel loose, in all honesty. Like, once again, it's house money. You relied on all the talent that you drafted the last year, the last couple of years, and now they're playing up to your expectations. Jalen Brunson has been box office for this team. So you go into Cleveland, you should feel comfortable in this matchup. No pressure on the Knicks right now whatsoever.
Absolutely, man. Well, definitely a great panel discussion, man. Looking forward to Saturday's matchup against these two teams. John, real quick, man, we have another sport that a lot of us share interest in. Now, Al, you're a Jets fan, so but you can stick around for this conversation. You can stick around for this conversation.
I know why you do this.
Hey, you have a good first round pick. You should be excited.
Yeah, see, CP and JD like to do this. They like to be like, this is Giants Nation. We got
CP,
where is Aaron Rodgers?
Where's Aaron Rodgers?
Did he go back into the dark? Did Bane go back into the darkness? What is he doing? What is he on McAfee show? I haven't seen him. What's going on with this guy, man?
Do you guys watch Ted Lasso at all? Anybody watch Ted Lasso?
I gotta catch it. I gotta catch it.
Yeah, I watched Ted Lasso.
Zav is Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, that's who he is. I mean, right?
Absolutely.
That was the first thing me and my wife looked with when he came in with the ponytail. I was like, oh my God, he's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, they also made that reference not in one of the seasons where they referenced the Jets too, where it's like, well, what happens after you're out of it and like you don't compete because you have relegation in soccer, and they're
That's
like,
right.
oh, well, you just go through the motions, everything, just like the Jets. I'm just like, wow, taking shots on a television show for no reason.
Well,
John, give us the pick.
Yeah, what are you thinking about the Giants draft? What are you thinking?
Well, okay, first I'll do the shameless plug. If you guys people are into the NFL, first of all, if you're Giant fans, check out we have 3 podcasts rolling right now. Big Blue Kickoff Live is our daily live show every day, 12:30 to 1:30. Check it out. Call-in show, call in, the whole 9 yards. We give fans a lot of time to talk. Then our 2 other podcasts, and that gets put on my podcast platforms too. Our 2 main draft podcasts are First Draft Season, and that's it's not even a Giants podcast, it's just a draft podcast. We do draft prospects up and down, rankings, list, etc. So if you're into the draft, check it out. And then the Giants Huddle is basically an interview podcast. And let's see, I've gotten Charles Davis is coming up. I just got Bruce Feldman, who's the main college reporter for Fox. I think Bucky Brooks is coming on next week. Thomas Dimitroff, the former Falcons GM, came on. So we've had some heavy hitters coming on the show, and we have a lot of fun draft talk. So go Go check that out, the Giants Huddle podcast. You can just search for Giants Huddle, search for Draft Season, search for Big Blue Kickoff Live on your podcast platforms, or just go to the Giants app or giants.com/podcast. You can find it there. Look, I have no idea who the hell the Giants are picking at 25. I can tell you the scouts are in the building right now. They're literally having their final meetings. They're putting their board together. And look, this is much nicer than picking at 5 and 7 like the Giants were last year and like they've picked in the top 10. What seems like since 2013, it's been a rough go. But it's hard for me to tell you who they're going to pick because I don't know who the hell's going to be there. Like this 24 guys going to be gone before the Giants pick. I think they love a corner. I think they love a receiver. Is a guy going to be there that's good enough? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, there are enough guys at each spot, but I think it's generally a shallow draft class. Once you get past the first 15, 17, 18 picks, the next 20 to 30 guys, they're all kind of on the same level, right? So I think a trade down would be great in a vacuum, but who wants to move up? I don't know the answer to that. So I think you can obviously find players, but I don't think this is the best draft. And I don't think at 25 you could get wiped out at a couple of the spots you really need help at. Can
they find an impact receiver in this draft?
Yeah, you can. You're not finding a 1 though. You're finding a 2 or a 3.
Man. We need a 1.
Yeah, I don't think that guy exists in this draft, CP. I got to be honest. I think that's why they traded for Waller. Because I think they saw the draft and they're like we don't see a 1 in this group, so we're gonna get the best weapon we can that's affordable. And I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is affordable from a contract perspective, right? So I think Waller was, and I think that's why they made that deal because they did not see a number 1 wide receiver. But I'm with you. That's still the number 1 goal to find that guy.
Number 1, man.
I just think that's going to be a next offseason priority, not a this offseason thing that they can. I think they would have liked to accomplish it. I just didn't think it was, based on the free agent class and the draft class. I just don't think it was in the cards.
How about O-line? I mean, do you see them making any moves on the O-line? A center? What do you think?
Look, they'll have a chance to pick the best center in the draft if they want him in the first round. I don't think one of those guys are going before them. It could be Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. Most people like John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. Those are the 2 main centers. If you wait, one of them could be there in the second round. I think probably not. Then you're down to like Luke Whippler from Ohio State, who's a Jersey guy. People like him. But then after those 3 guys, I don't know if you're finding a starting center in the draft, to be honest with you. So, and Joe Shane's been a big, premium position guy, drafting guys at premium spots. Center's not a premium spot. So I personally would be surprised just based on what he said that they would pick a center at 25.
What about corner next to Adoree? Any corners in the draft you like?
Yeah, I mean, they love it. I mean, I think that's probably besides center their biggest need, CP, to be honest with you. You have Adoree Jackson, and then, you have Nick McLeod, Cordell Flott, Aaron Robinson, a couple of guys they brought in free agency that, you're kind of like, I don't know if they're going to be any good. So, yeah, they need one badly. And there are 4 corners that I think are true first-round corners in this draft. 3 of them are going to be gone. Joey Porter Jr. is going to be gone. Devin Witherspoon's going to be gone. And probably, and no, Christian Gonzalez is definitely going to be gone. Will Deontay Banks or Maryland get there? I think if he's there, he's a big press, fast corner that kind of matches all the traits that Wink Martindale wants. I think that's an easy pick to me. I think he's a legitimate first-round pick. If you made me guess right now, I don't think he's getting there.
We need that against Philly, man.
Yeah, and Dallas and then they're playing the AFC East this year when you run into Tyreek Hill and all those other lunatics that Alex has to look at 6 times a year on a regular basis, which is no fun. So I would love Deontay Banks, and I think the next best corner is Emmanuel Forbes, and he weighs 166 pounds. So I'm not sure if you want to draft another 165-pound cornerback. They already have Cordell Flott. So it's going to be a lot of waiting and seeing and hoping that the right guys are left on the board, which for the Knicks never happens. Maybe for the Giants, they can catch a break.
JD, you have a question?
Well, first I want to say the show you have with Tony Pauline is outstanding. So definitely check it out.
That's
you guys
draft season. Thank you.
Yeah. You definitely had a great mock draft. I saw the whole show and it was very interesting. And that will lead to my next one. CP talked about center, talked about wide receiver, talked about corner, and you and I talked about maybe edge. Do you see them drafting at 25 and edge if a specific player gets there, and do they go just say, you know what, we're going to go best player available, Azeez Ojulari. It's a health question mark.
Injury.
And they really don't have, they have a lot of maybe prove it year type players with Ellerson Smith and a few other depth players. Do you see them potentially going edge at 25?
Yeah, I don't think it's a key need, but look, it's a deep edge class, right? Much like corner. Both those classes are deep. And you could get there at 25, and if Nolan Smith gets there, if, Miles Murphy, I've been, hearing might be dropping. If he's there, they could legitimately be the best player there. And here's the thing. I think you talk to Wink Martindale. He says, I can create pressure with my blitz packages. I need corners to cover. And I think that really is more important to his defense. But Joe Shane comes from Buffalo, where all they've done is draft guys up front year after year after year. So would it shock me if they drafted an edge player if he's the best player on the board? Absolutely not.
Can you confirm one thing for me?
Yeah, what do you got?
Last year's draft, I had heard that if Thibodeau and Sauce were on the board, hands down, Joe would have went with Sauce Gardner.
I think that's accurate.
Sauce is
I think
amazing.
Sauce was the guy they want. I don't have this for a fact. I didn't see the draft board. I think if Sauce was there, he would have been the pick.
Well, don't worry, gentlemen. He's still in New York.
He's great, man. Sauce is awesome. So, Alex, who do you think the Jets are looking at? Offensive line first round for you guys, do you think?
Yeah, got to be offensive.
Yeah.
line. Good word.
Got to.
Please.
You have to protect
gotta-
Zava, man. He needs protection back there.
You got to protect Zach Wilson this year.
Okay. Oh, God. Get that man off this team, please, for the love of God. For the love of God.
Well,
I
you
cannot-
guys do kill him. It's kind of funny.
Look, man, I didn't even like him when he was coming out of the draft. I just drank the Kool-Aid because I will root for my team.
Yeah.
You wear a green and white jersey, I will give you my support. First year, I was like, okay. Second year, I was like, he still hasn't shown any improvement.
No,
At all.
It's been bad. It's been bad.
One last question, because I think it's very important, John.
Yeah.
I think now there's going to be a lot of thought and speculation on going into this year that now we're going to see Kafka, Dable. We're going to see the true, creativity and offense. Being also now with Waller, they're comparing it to Travis Kelce. What Joe Shane said about, he doesn't care about size of receiver. He's looking at speed and separation. When you look at Darius Slayton coming back, 4.3 speed. You're looking at Parrish Campbell, 4.3 speed. They're interested in guys like Zay Flowers and Jalen Hyatt, who have speed and can separate. Do you see this year where they're really going to put the ball in Daniel Jones's hand? Are they going to, open up the offense and let him throw much more than they did last season?
I think you saw them do more of that late in the year, right? When, frankly, they played some bad defenses and they thought they could. The Vikings defense was terrible. I mean, they couldn't cover anybody. So you see a team that you could throw on them. Colts defense, they were kind of packing in at that point. And I think that's what they want to do. So, yes, but I think the player it's going to depend on, quite frankly, is Evan Neal. Can Evan Neal protect well enough at right tackle to open up the offense the way they want? And, who's going to be the left guard? Who's going to be the center? Is Mark Lewinsky going to be better? Is Andrew Thomas going to be healthy the whole year? And Andrew Thomas is awesome when he's healthy, and he's healthy last year. But the 2 years before that, he wasn't.
Right.
So I think a lot of that has to do with protection, and a lot of that has to do with whether or not they add another piece in the draft. Because right now, Isaiah Hodgins to me, he's a big possession receiver, and he's good at that, right? He's big, he's good in short areas, he can beat zones, he's got a good catch radius, he's a good solid player, but he's not beating you down the field, right? Darius Slayton drops the ball too much, but he is
so frustrating.
he has to improve,
man.
and look, that's been his problem since he came out. We know that. He is what he is, right?
Yeah.
What happens at slot? Is Wando Robinson healthy? Can he come back and be a real dynamic player? Can Paris Campbell stay healthy? He's had injury issues. Can Darren Waller stay healthy?
Darren Waller
He's had
stay
injury.
healthy, yeah.
Like, Waller has missed a lot of games the
Missed
last
a
2
ton.
years, and usually when you're 30 years old and you start missing games, it's hard to turn back the clock on that, right?
Right.
So health is essential. They need these guys to play and play well in addition to the protection. So, yes, I think they want to open up the offense more. They want to run 11 personnel. They want to, pass to set up the run. Not to minimize Barkley or anything like that, but I think you saw the way they wanted to play at the end of the year when they thought they could against when they had the right personnel matchups, right? So, yes, but it depends. There's always gray areas here, and I think we have to see, especially, and again, I love Devin Neal. He was my number one tackle on the board last year. I think he's going to be good. He was not good in his rookie year. I think everyone knows he needs to get better. And I think he will. I've seen him in the building already, to be honest with you. I think he's ready to go. So, and I think he'll figure it out because he cares and he cares and he's working hard at it. He's not Eric Flowers, right? So, who had trouble figuring things out from a technical standpoint. Neal's going to put that work in. So I think he'll be fine. And I think that will help the offense open up. But I don't think until we get that 1A guy, we're going to see peak Dable and Kafka. I think that might be a year away.
And Neal's working. I think he's been working out with a Hall of Famer tackle. Is it? I'm not getting his name right now, but I heard that he's working in his academy.
Is it Willie Anderson?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And I saw some pictures online. He's been working with his set. So let's see what that entails. And I also think Josh Azuda is gonna be key this year because I think the Giants are trying to set him up to win that left guard position. He's their 3rd round pick from last year. He was showing some signs there at the end, and he had the neck injury. So I think he could be, along with Neal, that next wave of young players on the line that is going to be key for the Giants.
Absolutely. Look, they know, especially now that you've paid the quarterback, you're going to have to pay Andrew Thomas. You're going to have to pay Dexter Lawrence. You're going to need guys on rookie contracts to play well. So those guys are going to have to step up.
Absolutely, man. Well, fellas, great show. Absolutely great round table that we had here, man. And after the draft, John, we'll have to have you on and do another. We'll do a playoff breakdown because the Knicks will still be in the playoffs, and then we'll talk G-Man draft results, and we'll see what happens with the Jets too. We'll do that for you.
Second round of the playoffs preview.
That's it.
Draft review.
Wait, hold on.
That's
it. John, we need to get John's
predictions.
Prediction,
yeah.
We need to get John's prediction.
How many games does Randle play?
Everyone. He's ready. Game 1.
Knicks in 7.
Okay.
Whoa.
Let's go.
Let's go, John.
JD.
And I'm looking forward to your threads, John. Every time you had those Knicks threads, I'm always reading every single one of them. So
I appreciate that. Look, I think there's something about this team this year that's very mentally tough. And even with Randle sometimes not being that way, I think the rest of the team is, especially, say what you want about RJ, dude does not care.
Yeah,
he could be 0 for 8 and he's just going to keep firing away. And that's good and bad.
I was about to say that's a good and bad.
I don't have to remind you all about John Starks. We all live that stuff. I think JD's probably too young, but we live that. That was no bueno. So there's good and bad to that. But look, Josh Hart's tough. Brunson is solid as a freaking rock. I think Quickly's experience 2 years ago will help him. I think he'll be ready to go. Grimes played a big program in Kansas. I think these guys will be okay. And I think their low turnover rate combined with their offensive rebounding, I think that in the end, and I think their bench unit will in the end be the difference in this game. And I don't think the Cavs have a good matchup for Brunson. And I think that also will be a difference maker. So I think Knicks in 7. It's a gut. Would it shock me if the Cavs won? Absolutely not. But my gut tells me Knicks in 7. Let's rock.
Allie, did you give your prediction?
No, I didn't.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going Knicks in 7 as well, man.
Okay.
Going Knicks in 7.
Let's go, man. JD, how about you?
Nah, don't ask JD. JD will give you his prediction on Saturday pregame show. But CP, CP waited till all the way to the end.
That's a fact.
To jump out the window.
I did.
I'll give you my prediction on Saturday.
All right. Hey, say no more, man. And that is Saturday night at
JD's got the Knicks in 3.
The 40-40 Club, man. So make sure you guys pull up on us. Make sure you guys go get your tickets. And we'll have the whole squad in the building, man. Full slate on KnicksFanTV, man. Pre-game show, JD's play-by-play, halftime, and post-game. So make sure you guys go get your tickets. Once again, go to from the venue. Yeah, we're doing it live. KFTV playoffs.
That opener last year.
.com.
This year. Last year. That opener at the 40-40.
Yeah.
Man,
insane.
I'm just thinking about the reaction, the Reddish shot, like how the venue got.
Yo,
but it's playoffs.
It's gonna be crazy, man.
Now 40-40 Club's awesome. I actually did. I produced like a year's worth of Monday night football FAN shows over there.
Yeah,
The place is
yeah.
awesome. It's a great time.
Incredible venue, man. So we will see you guys there. Remember to go to manscaped.com. Use promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Also go to prizepicks.com and use promo code KFTV for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Also, these shows are available in podcast format, audio podcast format, so no reason to miss it. If you miss it on video, shout out to the replay gang, but you can always catch it on all major podcast platforms. So, this has been another excellent Knicks versus Cavs preview, man. John, thanks again for your time, and we will see you guys on Thursday. See you guys, man. Peace.